Welcome to Retire Coast, where we discuss all things retirement, life on the Mississippi Gulf Coast, and your financial welfare. Bill Anderson, your host, is a serial entrepreneur having created many successful businesses and holds a real estate broker's license, speaks about personal experiences with each topic. Listen, learn, and improve the quality of your life.
Welcome again to retirecoast.com. Just in case I forget to tell you, I think you should go directly to our website at retirecoast.com when you finish this, if you aren't driving, and look at some of our blog articles that we have on our site. We have way more than 100. It's approaching 200 at this point, on all kinds of topics. This is just one of them. There's many other topics related to the Mississippi Gulf Coast, if that's what you like, or to any of the cities on the Gulf Coast. Also, we talk about retirement, we talk about finance, real estate, lots of topics all centered around your lifestyle. But today, I'm going to talk about the Peter Anderson Arts and Crafts Festival. And I think it's one of the best, if not the best, arts and crafts festival in the country. Now, I've been to quite a few of them, so I'm telling you from my personal experience, that's just my opinion. I was surprised when I was going to put together the article on our blog site for this topic, that I was looking on the internet for some good information from the Peter Anderson Festival folks about their history and that type of thing, and I found a mention about the Sawdust Festival out in California over in Laguna Beach. Now, if you haven't been to Laguna Beach, it's very similar to Ocean Springs in one sense, and that is it's a big artist community over there. A lot of them actually live in that community, as they do in Ocean Springs, Mississippi. However, as well attended as that is in Southern California, with a population of 4 million to 20 million people who can easily drive there, I was shocked to find out that 150,000 plus people will attend the annual Peter Anderson Arts and Crafts Festival in Ocean Springs, Mississippi every year. That number is going to go up probably to 170,000, 175,000. And then in Southern California, their attendance is about 200,000. Now, considering, as I mentioned, that there are millions of people living in that area and the Ocean Springs area, along with all three of the counties, there's only about 450,000 people. So this event is much more attended than the one in Southern California. And quite frankly, I find that the case with a lot of events that are held on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. I have lived in a lot of places, but I have never lived in any place that has the number of events that are held here on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. And the Peter Anderson Arts and Crafts Festival is at the very top of the list. I was there this morning with my wife, and we walked around. What they do is block off the streets so that it's all pedestrians. That way the booths can be set down the middle of the street and you can walk on either side of them. They also set up tents for different kinds of food and other things that they sell there in addition to just art, but things that are similar to art. Handbags, for example, that are factory made, but they're attractive. But the vast majority of items there seem to be made in the United States by the artists who are represented there. Now, they come from all over the United States every year to come to this event and show their wares. And they have some terrific art there. If you're not an art connoisseur and you don't have art all over your house, you'll still enjoy coming because it's a true family affair. You can bring the kids, walk around the street. It seems like every dog on the Mississippi Gulf Coast is there. So that's something to see. As a matter of fact, I was making a comment to my wife that I thought maybe we were attending a dog show today. Nevertheless, there were quite a few people there already, but we got there real early. We got there at about 7:30, 8 o'clock-ish, so we could walk around while they were putting their booths together without all of the crowds. I could take some pictures and some video for the blog article that I wrote. And so we enjoyed ourselves, but the crowd was getting larger and larger and larger as we were staying there. We had something to eat over at the little food court that they have, and it really thoroughly enjoyed that. The chicken, the Greek chicken, was terrific, and the crab cakes were good. Neither one of those are Southern foods, but we eat Southern foods all the time here, so this was an opportunity to eat something different. You know what it's like when you go to a fair. You have that funnel cake and you have all that junk food, but today we had pretty good food, with the possible exception of the Bloody Mary. But, you know, you can make an exception for a Bloody Mary once in a while because it has tomato juice in it, so that's part of somebody's food group anyway. So we enjoyed ourselves walking around and talking to artists and people there. Some of them we've seen before. In addition to all of the booths that are set up in the street, the community itself is quite the art community. In other words, many of the stores that are there, and they were all open, sell art that is created by local artists here on a regular basis. That's one reason why Ocean Springs is a top tourist destination without the need to have all of the other events and things that are going on there. But we enjoyed ourselves. All of the streets in downtown area there, as I mentioned earlier, were all blocked off, so you could walk through and relax. There was entertainment there. There were singers. They were performing at different locations. And that goes on all day on the Saturday, and then the same thing with the Sunday. It's a 2-day event that takes place the first weekend in November every year. Now, this is the 44th event, and next year, 2023, will be the 45th time that the Peter Anderson Arts and Crafts Festival is held. Now, you know, all those people coming to the community need to be able to safely navigate. They need restrooms. They need places to sit and refresh themselves. So the thousands of volunteers that come into this need to be mentioned, because in addition to the city staff, which are working overtime to make this happen, the volunteers are all around trying to help you in any way that they can, including running shuttles, running in those little golf carts. We were partaking of one of them because my wife and I had been walking for 3 hours, and someone drove in and said, "Would you like a ride to your vehicle?" And we said, "Sure." So that was free. That was done by a volunteer. And even the company that owns those little carts donated them as part of this event. So this is a real community event, something that I haven't seen in other places that I've lived, where everything tends to be pretty much commercial, and there isn't any sense that the community is actually participating. But in this one, it's talked about for months in advance. It is such a big event. It fills hotels, and it fills restaurants, and it fills nightclubs and bars and casinos, to the extent that there's a lot of income that's brought into the area. That certainly stimulates a lot of these companies to contribute and donate money to the event so that it's pulled off without any effort, seemingly any effort on the part of visitors. You don't see all the work that goes on behind the scenes. Now, this is a safe event. I've never heard of a problem there at all, anytime. It's all held outdoors, so you can walk around and feel safe. There aren't any cars driving around. As I mentioned, it's all a pedestrian walkway. And you can come out and spend hours and hours just walking around. In fact, one year we came out twice. We came out on a Saturday, and then we came back out on a Sunday to buy something that we were thinking about. We took some pictures and thought, well, we need this piece of art, so we went back on Sunday over there. Now, you can park for free at this event in all kinds of places alongside of the street, in church parking lots, for example, that aren't being used, at least on Saturday, and lots of other places. And then people are offering to let you park on their lawn or on their driveway for a small fee, and those are generally where the homes are real close to the event, and it's a lot shorter time to get there. Now, there are shuttles, as I mentioned, so even if you parked a mile away, you can have a shuttle that would take you there, but that's free. The entire event is free, and I mean Free with capital letters. They would like a donation of $2, and a lot of people give a $2 donation to help with the event. Now, I saw the restrooms. We used one of the portable restrooms. Someone had to bring that out there. Someone has to maintain it and take care of it. So there's a lot of money that goes into this, and that $2 donation, I think, is at least fair. But you don't need to pay it if you don't want to, and no one puts an arm on you to do it. You just walk right in. If you want a list of all of the vendors, then they'll give those to you as well, so you can find out where you might want to go, for example, even to eat. Now, all of the restaurants are open as well, and there's some terrific restaurants in Ocean Springs. It's well known for the number of restaurants and pubs that are open, and they all have booths right out in front of their restaurants, so you don't need to go inside. You can walk up, and they'll make versions of their food that's portable for you to take and just walk around with. And of course, all of the typical things that we like, funnel cakes and hot dogs and hamburgers and everything else are there, along with a lot of southern foods such as gumbo, which is definitely a must for any outing. Well, this event is happening every year, and I would suggest that if you decide to come and visit Ocean Springs from outside of the area, that you make your arrangements well in advance. Go to our blog site, retirecoast.com, and there is a link down below for Christie's Gulf Beach Rentals.com. They have vacation rentals that are located not far from Ocean Springs. You can stay in a house or a townhome, for example, and enjoy yourself while you're here. There are lots of other things to do on the Mississippi Gulf Coast all the time. By the way, we have 12 casinos which provide a constant entertainment, not just the gambling, of course, but food and other kinds of entertainment venues there. Also, shortly after the Peter Anderson Arts and Crafts Festival concludes, the Veterans Day parades take place at various cities along the Mississippi Gulf Coast, and that's just one of the many things that happens along the Mississippi Gulf Coast. There's always something happening in every year. Now, you can also go to Jones Park at some point after the festival. That's in Gulfport, where they have all of the Christmas lights out. It's an enormous event over there. That one, there's a small entry fee, but it's very enjoyable in the evening. It might be just a little bit cool, but it won't be cold, so you should be able to enjoy yourself, and that's held at the park at the port over there. There are also a lot of other events this time of the year. A little bit later, there will be the boat parade. That's a Christmas boat parade. And then it just goes on and on. So please join us on the Mississippi Gulf Coast and Ocean Springs. If you can find a place to stay around there, it'll be pretty crowded. But come back and visit us. Go to our blog site at retirecoast.com and listen to our other podcasts also on retirecoast.com. Thank you. It's almost like the term pick your own poison. No matter where you live, there's probably some natural event that maybe makes it difficult for you at some point during the year. Now, I live on the Mississippi Gulf Coast, and there have been, a few hurricanes, maybe 3 since I've been living here for about 7 years now. And that's not very many. They aren't very big. They caused very little damage. And people have insurance for that purpose. Plus, the federal government steps in and gives you money regardless. So all of that combined, you can get through it. You can live through it. We've had 2 major hurricanes on the Mississippi Gulf Coast in 60 years. That's 1 for each generation, basically. Now, every time there is a hurricane here, the building standards are reviewed again and improved. And since Katrina came and did serious damage to the Gulf Coast, it didn't knock down every house everywhere. It didn't affect every single person everywhere. It was serious, okay? But since then, the building standards have improved substantially. And the houses that have been built since then are built to withstand that type of hurricane in the future. But there are still many, many old houses here that were built in the 1800s that are still standing. I can tell you that for a fact because I own one that was built in 1880 that did not suffer damage from Katrina. So, as I mentioned, it doesn't happen to everyone. It doesn't happen in every place. It doesn't happen to every house. And it happens occasionally, but it's something you can live with. I can tell you there are 450,000 people that are living with that here along the Mississippi Gulf Coast. There are millions of people who are living in the state of Florida that experience this almost every year, and Alabama and Texas and all along the eastern seaboard. And those people aren't all moving inland or moving to California as a result. So while that one might be a more valid reason to consider living in Mississippi, it's not a serious reason. It can be overcome. And the last one I'm going to finish up with on this section is the lack of sports. Well, wow, that just blew me away. They finally got one right. The lack of sports. I think that's going to stop everyone from moving to Mississippi. It really will. That's it. Okay? So there's no professional sports in Mississippi. Okay. Well, let's think about this just a little bit. The city of, Memphis is right on the border with Mississippi, so people can drive a few minutes or a couple of hours or 3 hours to get up there to see a game if they really need to go there in person. And then, how about New Orleans, which is right on the border with Mississippi, and you can get there in a few minutes. I can get there in an hour from my house. There are other people can get there from 2 or 3 hours. Now, you take any place like California, for example, and there's lots of people have to drive lots and lots of hours just to get to a game in Los Angeles, San Diego, San Francisco. So we have professional sports located for most people in Mississippi about the same distance as most other states do. But let me tell you a story that is even more impressive for me on the lack of sports situation. By the way, we have minor league teams here, and you can watch those games. We have one in Biloxi. But let me get back to what I was saying. People in Mississippi love their high school and their college teams. So we have quite a few colleges in Mississippi, and they go out and support those college teams. All the different sports that they have, usually up to about 10 sports. Same thing with the high schools. But the high schools are big time here in Mississippi. The parents go to those games they'll go to that football game and the stadiums will be full. They support their kids. They're busy bringing their families to these games, and they are invested far more than people living in Los Angeles that are saying, well, let's just drive down to the stadium down there, all 13 million of us, and see if we can go and see a game. No. I'll bet you that it doesn't happen like that at all over there. In fact, I know it doesn't because I lived in Southern California. So what I see here in Mississippi is something I did not see there. People do support their kids with sports, but nothing to the extent that they do in Mississippi. and I think it's great. So as opposed to lack of sports, I say that there's an abundance of sports in Mississippi, and that turns out to be a positive and not a negative. So just to close up on this one topic of these articles that are constantly being written berating Mississippi, actually they're not bad. Let me tell you why. Because it keeps a lot of people away. Now, we don't want everybody moving here. Now, my article might seem like that. You know, why are people moving to the Mississippi Gulf Coast? And they are. And we're getting more people moving here. The population is growing on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. But we don't want everyone coming here. I mean, there are people that want to come here and they want the government to take care of them, and that's not what we want. People here are pretty much self-reliant. There's a great work ethic going on here. There's lots of jobs. Employment is terrific. Wages have been going up. But the cost of living here is so incredibly reasonable that when people come here, they say, wow, is there something wrong with that price? But that's a quote from one of my clients who came from another state here and put an offer in on a property, and he said, is there something wrong with it? I said, no, that's the price here. And he was really, really surprised, shocked and surprised, as most people are. Most people don't know that two people, husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, can get together that work at maybe McDonald's or another fast food place, and they can actually buy a house together on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. Yes, they absolutely can, because I've sold houses to people in those circumstances. As a matter of fact, as I'm speaking with you, I am in the process of selling a house that is being offered for $87,000. Now look around your community and try to find a house for $87,000. I would say that maybe if you added about $600 to that number, or $700,000, you'd be on the low end in some places. My point is that the article that I wrote, 21 Reasons Why People Moving to the Mississippi Gulf Coast should fully understand that there are options. They don't need to stay in their crowded big cities with all of the crime and the homelessness and the traffic and the pollution. I can go on and on and on. Unfortunately, our young people don't really see that at first. They're a little bit blinded. But as you start to raise a family and you get a little bit older, maybe you're thinking about retirement, you go, wait a minute, I better start focusing on the quality of my life. And where can I have quality and afford it? And the Mississippi Gulf Coast is one of those places. But again, as I close, we don't want everyone here. We want people that are willing to embrace our culture the way it is. Small improvements, okay, if you want to open up another sushi restaurant, that's fine, okay? But don't ask us to pay more taxes for some harebrained scheme that you picked up in one of those other places you came from, because we're not likely to approve that. Well, thank you very much for coming to this podcast and listening to me rant about the state of Mississippi and all of those people out there that have no clue what they're talking about when they're discussing this state. I moved here from California and I love it. And there are other people that have moved here from many, many other states and they love it too. So what's not to like about blue skies, beaches? We even have a few casinos if you want some entertainment here. Well, thank you again for coming, and please come back to our podcast again and come to our blog at retirecoast.com. Thank you.